But they're cloning it based on what we have.
Okay, what is, let's say,
replicating
what is
human
consciousness? Let's start with it. What do you believe is consciousness?
Consciousness is maybe empathy.
No, that's not fun. That's just an emotion.
Okay, yeah, fine. Consciousness is maybe your awareness, your anything.
Yes, that's a good answer. So that you are aware that you exist, basically.
Yeah.
So your existence is your consciousness. Now, can you detect consciousness?
You can feel it within
Can you
yourself.
observe it in a laboratory?
I mean, consciousness is something that everybody feels.
No, but everybody knows they have it.
Yeah, because you feel it. You don't feel God. You don't feel a godly presence.
Yeah. So I'm saying scientifically.
Yeah.
Yes. Let's say if somebody was, I don't know, somebody was just breathing, or you might just in a vegetative state, and a psychologist cannot ask them questions, would they still be conscious?
Well, it's debatable.
Sorry?
It's debatable within medicine what's considered consciousness, conscious levels.
No, not what level. Are they conscious at all?
Do they have any level of consciousness?
Yes.
Yeah, I suppose so.
Yes. So how will you detect they have consciousness?
Using, well, you can use technically, you can use an EEG.
What, to detect the pulse?
The brain waves.
Okay. So that means their brain is functioning.
Yeah.
Okay?
Okay.
So if anybody's brain is functioning, they exist.
If anybody's brain is functioning, it proves that they have some level of consciousness, yeah.
Yes. So what I'm...
computer also pick up on electronic bits. Yeah. Electronic stuff moving around.
Okay, fine.
It has consciousness.
But I mean,
But it has electronic waves. So
but what you're detecting in the brain is you're detecting electrical signals.
in the computer, you're also detecting electrical
It's basically detecting the brain waves, but that's not consciousness. You are aware of that, right?
Because
The brain waves are
we
not
accept
consciousness.
already that there's such a thing as consciousness.
The brain waves
How do you know if it's a specific
are a
thing?
chemical,
Well,
sorry,
well, they are consciousness because consciousness is
No,
your
no, 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 no.
ability to
You're jumping the steps.
react to situations. If you were to stab a guy in a coma, his brainwaves will react in some kind of way. Those reactions are a level of consciousness.
No, but there are many inanimate objects which react to the stimuli as well. So it doesn't mean they have consciousness. So there are robots which are created. If you, for example, the vacuum cleaners, you know, the ones that basically just vacuum your floor.
Automatic vacuum.
Yeah, exactly. So they can detect motion. They can detect any obstructions or anything.
Fine.
So
Like the Turing test.
so in other words, what you're saying, the brain waves, that itself is not consciousness. It is basically
it's a
showing,
test.
yeah, it detects that your brain is functioning.
Yeah.
But is the brain aware that it exists by itself?
It's not consciousness itself.
Well, I mean, is a unicellular organism aware that it exists on its own?
No, I'm saying is the brain, for example, for this vegetative person, is self-aware. How would you know unless a person speaks to that? Unless the brain speaks to you?
Classifying as consciousness.
Yeah, the fact that
Is a leaf aware that it's alive? Is it aware that it's, living in Britain? I don't think so, but it's still conscious.
And some people here not.
So you're saying a leaf, when you say a leaf is conscious, what do you mean by that? You mean it's living?
It's a living organism.
Okay, so will a leaf be able to tell you that it exists?
In a sense, yeah.
How?
By being the way it is. You
Just
will be
because
able to eat it, to use its nutrients. Its nutrients can go into the ground and regrow new stuff. It's alive in a lesser way than a human is, but it's still alive.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. If it's alive, yes, does it mean that it is telling you that it's aware of its existence?
It doesn't need to tell you, it's telling itself.
Okay, so whether it's human being or a plant, anything, you're saying they all have consciousness.
Yeah.
I think that's debatable, but I don't think any person that I spoke to that they say that a tree is conscious.
But not on the same level as a human being, of course.
Yeah.
Even animals are not conscious.
So basically they are just surviving. In other words, the animals survive, the plants survive. But we
It
also...
has cells.
Well, it has cells, the RNA
It doesn't have the same consciousness as an animal. Clearly.
I mean, basically the point I'm trying to make here is that science will not be able to tell you precisely of a person's consciousness, because two consciousness, there are many things which are related. For example, your emotions. Yes. So for example, if you wanted to find out how much you love your brother or you love your mother. How would you measure that? How would you measure that without speaking to you? Can science detect such love and empathy?
Perhaps not yet, but it will one day, I believe.
Yeah, but that's like a shot in the dark.
Well, it's a shot in the dark now, but I mean, look how far we've come in the last 100 years.
But that's why I told you, science cannot detect things which are which are of the metaphysical world. And if you say that it can, then science will soon start believing in religion.
No, it can't detect it directly.
Or at least the scientists will.
Detect it indirectly.
Sorry?
We've agreed that it can detect it indirectly, like the brain waves.
No,
etc.
brain waves are not consciousness. That I know.
No.
Brain waves is the functioning of the brain that is still functioning. It doesn't mean it's conscious that
Well,
is aware that of its environment.
It's an electrical signal that's picked up by the EEG, which is showing
that the brain is functioning. Exactly my point.
No, it's not only that.
brain.
It's not only that, but the brain has different kinds of brain waves, depending on the kind of thing that's going on in the brain. Right, so you can tell consciousness from the kind of brainwave that the person has.
So
now,
based on the brainwave, what are you going to detect? That the brain is working? Yes, we know that.
Not just the brain's working,
so
but
what?
Also what kind of thoughts that the brain is having.
What kind of thought? Where do you get that from?
Very broad terms.
No, where do you get that from?
Well,
I don't think there's such a thought-reading machine out there.
I didn't say it's a thought reading.
You said what kind of thought?
What kind of thoughts is not the thought itself. I didn't say they can read the thoughts.
Okay, so give me an example of what kind of thought.
Okay, for example, different brainwaves
will
tell you what kind of sleep you're in. So for example, if you're going through a sleep where you're having a dream, right, it's going to have different kind of brainwaves than if you're just, for example, relaxed, right? So this is a kind of can detect consciousness in that sense.
Well, it's more than that.
You don't need a machine for that. You can tell by your REMs.
Okay, fair enough.
There you go. You don't need a machine.
So you don't need a machine.
So what I'm saying is that no, these are not thoughts.
The argument is not about whether you need a machine or not.
I think we have moved on from what kind of thoughts to just dreaming.
A machine can detect what emotional state you're in as well.
What emotional state you're in? Give me an example.
So they can detect whether you're happy, you're sad, you're excited, you're angry, and things like that.
Really?
Yeah.
Can you basically just pretend your emotions rather than having them? For example,
if you're able to convince your brain that you're having those emotions, then you are having those emotions.
You don't. The thing is, what you're thinking inside is very different to how you react externally. For example, many people smile, but inside they might be sad.
So you can tell with a contrast MRI, you will be able to tell which part of the brains are illuminating, which will signify which part of the brain, which emotion your brain is experiencing.
No, it'll just detect the level of emotion in terms of if you're happy,
sad, depressed.
This part of the brain is. But I don't think they'll be able to tell if somebody's just mimicking happiness. Okay, so for example, someone might be really sad, but they're not happy. They might be able to just pretend to be happy. Yes. For example, look, if someone let me give you an example. If somebody takes some kind of drug, yes, they can actually make certain parts of their brain waves interact in a way where the machines will pick up that this person is feeling happiness, but he's in a state that he himself doesn't know what is. You see what I mean? So he's taking drugs now, he's inducing his emotions in such a way which might be reaching certain levels, and the machine might detect so many things in his brain. It's probably lighting up all different places. So now the machine is confused what emotion state he is in. So the question is back to, can a machine detect certain things which are part of the metaphysical, not the physical? And I believe emotions is part of that.
Okay, so you believe emotions is part of that.
Yeah.
So again, it comes back to fine-tuning science. I mean, in
fine-tuning science.
As in, maybe we can't do that now. In 5 years, in 10 years, in 20 years, we will be able to do that.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. If you think science can detect metaphysical things, then you basically are going to believe that one day science is going to start believing in metaphysical angels and realms like that.
I mean, you said that you believe emotions and things are metaphysical.
Yeah, I do, because I don't just believe in science. I believe in religion as well, and I believe there are.
So, as somebody who doesn't believe in God, who doesn't believe in all this kind of stuff, and if we never come to detect it, any of those kind of things.
So if you can't detect it, then what? Then they don't exist?
Well,
seriously?
Essentially, yeah.
So your emotions don't exist if they can't detect it?
Well, they can't detect it.
No, they
everything we know in the physical world today, we can detect in a sense.
Not really. So
and we can find ways.
You can experience hundreds of emotions at certain times. Are you telling me the machine can detect what kind of emotions you're going through?
We can make machines.
No, not can make. Are there machines?
doesn't matter if there are or there aren't.
No, but you're speculating, isn't it?
It matters on the fact that science is capable or will be capable.
But you can't tell that for a fact. You're only speculating now.
I can't tell you for a fact that one day we can live on Mars, but I can tell you that it's very plausible and possible.
I wouldn't deny that actually. In fact, we have got probes going to Mars. Yes, so there's nothing wrong with that. But what you're saying is Mars is physical, okay? Going there is also a physical way. That's nothing to do with the discussion we are having with regards to the metaphysics. For anyone to say that science can detect metaphysical things, then you have to go away from science in order to do that. In other words, you will have to change the tool that you're using at present, which is only the naturalistic world, to going beyond that. You see what I mean? So for you to say that it's plausible for in the future for them to detect emotions and your consciousness and so on.
How would somebody go about, if you can't detect it with science, how would you go about detecting the metaphysical world?
You can. I mean, for example, look, if I asked you questions with regards to where did the universe come from, yes, we know that it cannot come from nothing. Yeah, because that wouldn't be scientific or rational if you ask me. Because nothing, do you believe nothing exists?
Nothing exists. Okay.
Does it exist?
It's a tricky question to answer, but okay.
Okay,
fine.
let's define nothing then.
Okay, fine. Let's say it doesn't exist. Nothing doesn't exist.
What is nothing?
So it doesn't exist.
Yeah, it doesn't exist? What is nothing?
Absence of anything.
Say, that's a good one. Say it.
The absence of something.
No, the absence of everything. Sorry, the absence of everything.
Yeah.
Not the absence of something, the absence of everything. That's what it is. Do you believe that? So it's basically just a concept. In order for us to have a discussion in a language, we talk about nothing, yes? So the question is, if it doesn't even exist, can it bring about something?
If it doesn't exist, can it bring about no?
Good. So what is the other possibility other than nothing?
Well, there could be matter always there. Matter's forming.
Matter's not eternal.
Well, how do you know?
Well, you tell me, what is matter?
As far as I know, it is eternal.
What is matter?
Matter is energy.
Okay. And how do you know energy is
matter? And it transfers from energy to matter, matter to energy.
Yeah, in a closed system, it can do that.
That's the problem that answers that. We understand less what energy is than what matter is. The same matter as energy, you're just making it more abstract, not more concrete. Because we have no idea what energy means, whereas matter, you have an intuitive idea of what it does mean.
Okay, let's say matter and energy, they are something, right? The question would be, how do you know they're eternal? Do you think before?
Are you able to destroy something completely?
Yes, you can.
Are you able to take a carbon atom and completely destroy it into nothing?
Yeah, you can. So in an open system like the universe, it happens all the time.
You can destroy a carbon atom, but the particles that made it up, it will be transferred into energy, which can then be transferred into matter.
Oh, you're talking in a closed system, yes. So in a closed system, you cannot destroy something by the law of thermodynamics.
Nothing is created.
In a closed system, yes, but not in an open system like the universe. There's a big difference between the two. So what are you talking about?
In the universe, do you find things
How
that
can the universe be open? Because for it to be an open system, you need to be able to release energy to the surroundings.
You know, before we discuss about matter and energy, the question we need to ask is, how do you know it's eternal?
Because we have no evidence that it's not eternal.
Well, do we have evidence that it is eternal?
The evidence is that we've never seen something be completely destroyed and disappeared, vanished.
What about the Big Bang? They believe before the Big Bang there was nothing there.
There's a lot of theories.
You know, they talk about the singularity. Yes, you heard of that? You never heard of the singularity? It's before the Big Bang, actually. So it's a fraction of time before the Big Bang, when you have these four elements, matter, energy, there are two others. I believe there was it gravity? Anyway, there's four elements, so the four main elements of the universe that we have. Space, time, matter, energy, yeah, that's the one. So space, time, matter and energy. And these four were combined in the singularity at one point, and this is the one that explodes, which causes the Big Bang. Okay, so before that, none of the scientists say it existed. These four elements did not exist before that.
That's not true, because I've spoken to many scientists that believe there was something before the Big Bang.
No, they believe, that's different. Do they know it exists?
Okay, so they don't know.
Because, you know, even great scientists who have written about time and space, even they do not speculate these things. There are different models which suggest this, but those models are, in terms of evidence, they're very weak. So they are very weak in terms of this multiverses and this universe, cyclic universe and all that, because there are certain laws in physics which won't allow that. For example, the the second law of thermodynamics. Do you know?
Probably learned this or entropy, something like that.
Yeah, entropy. That's good. So entropy won't allow that, because entropy will stop anything that is going into cycles up to a certain level. You can do it. I think they measured the number of cycles that will happen if there was such a universe, a cyclic universe, up to 80 or something like that. But beyond that, it cannot because of entropy. So the physical laws itself will stop such a thing happening in real life. So the question still remains as to what or where did the universe come from? Because we can rule out nothing. We can rule out these multiverses and all by the law of thermodynamics. We can. What else have we got?
Well, I mean, first of all, there's another theory of the Big Bang. Have you ever heard of the Big Bang?
I've just explained the Big Bang.
Okay. Well,
you didn't know what was before the Big Bang. I said a fraction before there was this singularity.
No, that's.
And there was the Planck Time, which is again.
Big Bang says that the universe is expanding, shrinking, expanding, shrinking, expanding, shrinking.
Yeah, and they can only. That's the cyclic universe I was talking about.
Okay.
And that can only go up to 80 iterations, not more, based on the natural laws of physics, like entropy and like second law of thermodynamics. Oh, have you read into this? How can you say it's not true?
Well, I've watched documentaries about it.
And
you have to be careful when applying the laws of entropy too, because we've only deduced the laws of entropy from, well, there's mathematical models, but there's also, we're talking about things that exist in the world we live in. But if all matter collapses to a point, then it's very likely that, according to the laws of physics, it's able to start again exactly how it started before.
How will all matter collapse when the law of physics itself says matter is neither created nor destroyed?
Yeah,
it's not collapsing, it's collapsing in on itself into one point.
Same thing.
Into an extremely dense and extremely energized.
That's exactly the singularity I was talking about.
Yeah, and then once it's at that point, at that critical point, it boots itself to the origin of where it started from, and then it expands back outwards with the same energy and the same amount of matter that was in there, and the same. And it expands basically into the same level of where it started from originally.
It could be like
what you're saying is exactly what the cyclic universe is, and the refutation for this was there.
You cannot therefore put a restriction on how many times it would do that.
You can, based on the laws of physics. You can.
Because
what you're saying,
the laws of physics, it is coming back to exactly the point of where it's like using a elastic band.
Yes.
If you stretch it within limits, you can do this a million times.
No, you can't.
If you were putting back all the pieces and all the tiny atoms falling off it, and all the energy and all the heat that you're creating doing this, if you were to put all that back in to the elastic, you would be able to do this many times.
You're speculating right now. Okay, let me ask you. Do you know what is entropy?
Yes.
What is it?
It's energy.
No, it's not. That's why I said you don't know what you're talking about.
Okay.
Entropy is not energy. Okay, do you know what's entropy?
It's usually explained as a measure of disorder.
Yes.
So
this guy knows his stuff. You don't.
He's a physicist.
Exactly. So you're from the medical background and you're just speculating right now. As if you sound very convincing, but you're not. To the person who knows his stuff.
Well, he has just explained it to you in the same way that I've just.
No, but he hasn't looked at
I haven't read what he has read.
the models that actually talk about this cyclic universe. Yes, from most of the physicists who have talked about it, who have spoken about it, this was their argument that why it cannot happen, and that's why they are actually rejected. See what I mean?
It kind of sounds like something that some physicists might.
Yeah, some do, and they are a minority. There's always going to be exceptions to the widestream, mainstream physicists who actually, most of them who reject it. Okay? So my friend, don't speculate if you don't know. Say I don't know, it's better that way.
No, I was trying to explain the point that he was making. That's what I was
No, but I gave the response to that as entropy. But you didn't even know what was entropy.
I would be uncomfortable. I haven't read what you've read. Maybe if I read what you've read, I'd believe the same.
Look into it.
I feel uncomfortable saying that because of...
Look up cyclic universe.
Okay.
and then look up the objections to that.
Okay.
Okay? No
I
problem.
just feel like it comes with saying because of the second law of thermodynamics.
Yeah.
The universe, we can't have some kind of system where the universe kind of renews itself continuously.
It can, because anything that basically expands, collapses, you can't have it indefinitely.
But here, all the energy of the whole universe and all the matter of the whole universe is coming back to a point.
Doesn't matter.
So when it explodes again, it's essentially a random reset in a sense. It can start exactly how it started before.
No, this is what they assume. That's why I said these are the things that they can talk about in theory, but they were actually created mathematical models to understand that collapsing and expanding. They realize that because of this law of thermodynamics, it cannot happen indefinitely. Now, like I said, look it up, and then we discuss. So we discuss, I don't know, so many things. We discuss nothing can cause the universe. We discuss why you cannot have cyclic universe. We know that it cannot create itself. I don't know. I don't think we have discussed it. But what do you think? Do you think the universe is conscious?
Consciousness of the universe?
Yeah. Okay. Let me rephrase that. Do you believe the universe is sentient? As in, does it have the ability to think, to know?
No.
Can it? So it's not possible for something which is.
I wouldn't say it's not possible. I don't think so.
Well, how would it be possible for something that is not sentient to create itself?
It's a random act. How would it be possible for?
It is like me saying a rock just appears from nowhere. A rock which doesn't speak, which doesn't talk, which doesn't have
How would a
consciousness.
rock fall from space and hit the Earth and
Gravity.
crash into a million pieces?
Simple. It's called gravity.
Okay,
You
so
should know
then-
that.
So there you go.
No, but that's not. Wait.
So the universe is being
Just because
controlled by the laws of physics.
hold
it's not
on.
controlling itself.
Just because a rock falls from point A to point B, that is just gravity. It doesn't mean the rock is conscious. Okay?
The universe is being controlled by the laws of
No. The question was, can something which is not sentient bring about its own existence?
Well, the argument isn't that we're
It's a very clear question. You understand the question, right?
Yeah.
You understand the terms I use within my question. So once again, can something that is not sentient bring about its own self?
no.
No. So we can rule that out as well. So what else are you left with then?
You're left with so many possible unknowns.
Give me one. Go on.
Well, like I said, first of all, his theory of the Big Bounce, which
I've just explained that already.
You're rejecting it, but
No, not me. The physicists reject it.
some physicists reject it.
No, most reject it. Some actually hold on to it.
So some hold on to it. So that's
Why are
one
you
thing.
saying something you haven't even researched, my friend?
Okay, so some physicists hold on to it.
Minority versus the majority.
It's a possible theory.
No, it's a theory, yes.
It's a possible.
But because
it's
of
a
their
possibility.
hold on, because of their mathematical models that they have actually used, yes, those few physicists who hold on to it, they were unable to refute it.
Okay.
So what does it tell us?
Which theory is it?
The theory of cyclic universe, that it expands and it collapses into itself, expands and collapses. They said that it can only happen up to a certain iteration. They said something like 80 or maybe a bit more or something like that. But it cannot happen indefinitely because of the laws of physics, the
But
laws
again,
of
but again, it doesn't
thermodynamics.
answer the start. Again, it does not answer the start, and this is the point. This is the main thing. This
What
theory,
about
it doesn't answer the start.
in eternal existence?
There's no, then you have to give it evidence.
How is it
Why
eternal?
do you believe matter or energy or anything like that is eternal? Because none of the physicists that I
I've
know,
never seen a piece of matter being destroyed completely.
you haven't seen, doesn't mean that's basically called the what do you say, the fallacy of the argument from silence. Just because you haven't seen doesn't mean that it doesn't happen.
But your argument of there being a deity or there being a
I haven't brought in
being-
deity yet.
It's not about. I'm just
No,
saying.
I'm not saying I brought in a deity. I'm saying based on your view.
Your argument of bringing in a deity is because you can't explain something else.
No, it's not that.
My telling you that we believe things are eternal is because we can see that atoms are never.
You have never seen an atom eternally exist.
No, because I haven't been around for an eternal amount of time.
So why are you making a conclusion based on something that you haven't
Based
observed?
on observation?
Well, you haven't observed. That's what I'm saying.
You've observed it to an extent. You can't observe it.
You're doing it again, brother. You're doing it again. You don't know, and you're speculating about something that no scientist or
Can I
physicist
say
has ever
something?
made this
All
conclusion.
cosmologists, they agreed on one point,
Yeah.
that the universe has a start. They agreed on this point. They never, none of them, they said, oh, it was eternal. They said, they agreed on one point.
No, hold on. He
Yeah?
said it's not true. Do you know they have even mentioned roughly the age of the universe, 13.7
Yes,
billion?
yes.
Okay.
So if they have an
That's
age,
according to the Big Bang Theory.
hold on, if they have an age then don't you think it has a starting point?
That's based on the expansion of the universe, yeah.
Not
So
the
it has a
expansion,
start.
it's the age itself.
Well, how do they age the universe?
They accept.
They base it on the radiations from that time that still that shows the energy
And some of them,
the
they said they
radiation
they could even track the radiation of
Yeah.
the Big Bang and all of these things. They're
It's not
debating
the
all of these
expansion.
things. My point is, they agreed, all cosmologists. Yeah, they said the universe has a start. Now here, are you bringing a new theory to say no, it doesn't have a start? It has because
There are theories that it
Who
didn't
said
have
that?
No, we have different models, but I've already explained to you why that model, that of cyclic universe, has been rejected.
Yeah.
If you want to hold on to
and the multiverse theory as well.
the multiverse, again, the multiverse has a starting or doesn't have a starting.
Well, multiverse isn't a really. The problem with the multiverse theory is that it postulates a whole bunch of extra structure which I've never seen. So that's very similar to their saying, well, there exists a God and the God created.
So okay, so
just saying,
it's
oh,
the
there's
same
other-
idea.
In other words, a multiverse, yes, is the least reliable in terms of a theory and its evidences.
Okay.
Okay, so what you're doing is you're basically looking at things which most physicists have already rejected, and they have come to a conclusion that this cannot be. You know why the Big Bang theory is the most accepted? Because it kind of has the evidences a theory would have in order to uphold it as a reliable theory. You see, that's how science works, and that's what I'm telling you. That's why they say that the universe has an age of 13.7 billion, or whatever it is, or years. And this is what they have, what most of the physicists kind of agree with, okay? Which proves to us that it has a beginning,
Okay.
okay? So if something has a beginning, yes, we believe that anything that has a beginning or that begins to exist, yes, has a cause.
Yeah.
The universe is the effect. So what caused the universe? That is the question, and that will answer the question that we have been seeking here. So what do you believe caused the universe?
I believe there's many possible theories.
Give me one.
Anything.
Give me one that is accepted by the physicists. Gone.
Okay, so maybe the physicists haven't accepted the theory because they're not going to accept a theory when they don't have an idea.
Do you have an idea?
No.
So what is the answer to my question then? If you don't have an idea,
I
the
told you right
physicists
from
don't have an
beginning-
idea,
I
then
told
what is the
you right
answer?
from the beginning, there could be a God, there could be a multiverse, there could be a cyclic universe, there could be many different possibilities, there could be something that we haven't postulated yet.
We have looked at all those except God. Okay?
Because it's something that's untangible to us. It's something
No,
that
it's not
can't-
untangible. It's not untangible to a mind which is logical and rational at the same time, which looks as evidence everywhere rather than block itself from certain evidences. For example, listen, if you go to any university where they teach science, yes, anybody talks about God or any of the explanation by God, they automatically reject it. So this is the state of science today, that they have actually shut the door towards metaphysical understanding of certain things in the universe. You will never find God through that way because they have actually blocked. They're not very scientific in the sense that open to discussion of everything. So they're not looking at every possibility, they're only looking at certain possibilities which they view that within their worldview it would agree. But if it is even plausible that this is an explanation which is alternative, they won't accept it.
There is no evidence to suggest scientifically that there is a God. So how can science reveal it?
Yeah, because like I said, you're using the wrong tool. If you're going to use science as a tool, if you're going to use science as a tool to find out the metaphysical, it is like I've said many times that you're using a metal detector if you want to find plastic. Wrong tool, you'll never get the evidence. Okay? So please stop repeating this because I had to repeat this many times.
But
You're
still haven't
using.
given me an answer.
No, I have. I said there's an alternate way. Like I said, everything that begins to exist has a cause. So the question that you need to answer is what caused the universe? And I'm saying, because I've asked you this question, I don't know, do you want me to give you my point of view? Okay, so everything that begins to exist, like the universe began to exist, yes? It must have a cause. And this cause must be it must be able to be intelligent enough to design something like the universe. To design, not only design, but to keep it,
Powerful.
yeah,
It has to be
keep
very
it
powerful.
existing and keep it running in a smooth way, which doesn't destroy itself, okay? Secondly, it has to be self-created, self-existing by itself. Because if God has a creator, then that wouldn't be God, by definition of the term God, okay? So it's uncreated, uncaused,
Uncreated, yeah.
intelligent designer. That is what basically it boils down to. Now, I'm saying that also God is a being which is necessary in the sense that for everything to exist, you must have a cause, and that cause is God, and that God is necessary for the existence of everything else. Okay, a necessary being in the sense that if that necessary being wasn't there, would everything else exist? The answer is no. Okay, but if that necessary being was there, then we would exist. Now, if you can find any other plausible answers to that, any other plausible models which would answer these questions as to what is the cause and whether this cause has a cause and so on, yes, then we are willing to listen to that rational arguments that you have.
So basically, you're giving me the goals of gaps.
No, I've given you.
don't understand
I've moved you away from the chance of the gaps.
You basically don't understand certain things. So
What did I not understand?
You don't understand how the universe could exist.
I just explained it to you.
Yeah, so you've explained it to me with a God theory based on the fact.
But why have you made up your mind that God doesn't exist?
Can I ask a question?
I haven't made up my mind that God doesn't exist.
So if it is plausible, then why you have a problem with it?
Can I ask a question?
It's plausible.
Yeah. So if it's plausible, why have you?
There are other theories that are also
Right now,
Can I
this
ask
is
a
the most
question?
plausible explanation.
Can I
If you
ask
have
a
better,
question?
let me know.
You mentioned that it's possible. You said that's one of the things. That's one of it. And as well, if someone say that the cause of this universe is God, and the God exists, that's what he calls the universe. You said that means we don't understand how the universe. It doesn't work like this, by the way. The same thing. We could point the hand, the same to you, point the finger, saying to you, you don't understand the universe. That's why you say that God doesn't exist. So that's why
I never said God doesn't exist.
Hold on a second. I'm saying
He's agnostic.
you mentioned to him because he doesn't understand how the universe was exist. That's why he believes the existence of God.
But if you look from
Did you see the point?
Yeah.
So
But if
he
you're
could
looking
put the finger back to you, saying to you,
okay.
and you have the same thing because you don't understand the universe. That's why you're agnostic. So we say, and instead of accusing each other on this, okay, because we need to understand. All of us here, we don't understand how the universe, was created. Okay. All of us here, we agreed. We were not there. Even we don't know what was the energy, the amount of energy, what was the atom, all of these things which caused this Big Bang, if they were Big Bang, for example, yeah? Even though I'm kind of skeptic about the Big Bang, but anyway, let's suppose there used to be a Big Bang, according to many cosmologists, and as well, this Big Bang, it started this, all the, suppose this, I'm just giving this suppose, I'm assuming, yeah? Now, so we don't know what the amount of energy that's needed. We don't know what was the atom that started. All of these things, that's something, it's even imaginary in our mind. We don't know. But we know, all of us, we know this universe exists. And we know we exist, we are here. And we know we have consciousness, us. And we know non-consciousness doesn't produce consciousness. Yeah? That's something which is again, that's another, I could say, that's an angle, which is later another tangent which we do need to discuss it now. But the point is now, since we are here, and after thinking deeply about the existence of this universe, now, what is the answer? What is the right answer? To say, there is different definitions, whatever it is, yeah, as you mentioned, there could be different explanations, which is even rejected by cosmologists, people who are specialized, and they have agreed on one point, yeah, as they have agreed there's Big Bang, many of the cosmologists, they have agreed the universe has started. It's kind of agreed on this. So it's something which is agreed. Now let's work on the things that the cosmologists, who are much, let's say, knowledgeable about these things, these matters than us, for example, let's agree on this. Now since the universe has a start, so this universe has a start, so did it start by itself without any effect? Yeah, without any cause, one thing. And if this cause, does it, for example, this cause, what is the criteria of this cause, which bring all this universe? These are the things that should be the angle which we should discuss. I'm not restricting by the discussion, yeah, but I'm just saying that's the angle, which is, I think.
So we talked about cause and effect,
yeah.
And the question was what caused the universe, because we know the universe began to exist.
Okay, I'll leave on this point that, from a more primitive point of view, the further back you go in history, the more we rely on God for everything, to understand everything. The more we come into the future, and the more we understand science, and we understand other aspects of the universe that we didn't understand before, the less we rely on God
No,
for
but,
an explanation.
but in order for you to understand the universe and our world and ourselves, yes, it doesn't mean you have to completely negate science. As Muslims, yes, we are not saying that there's no need for science just because we have God. We never say that. In fact, the earliest Muslims were some of the best scientists. In fact, the scientific method, the first scientist, which you would call, is Ibn Haytham. He actually postulated this, the scientific methods of researching and basically observations and so on. So the first scientist was a Muslim. So, and you know what motivated them? It was basically God, the
Quran.
book of God.
Sure that
The Quran, do you know, by the way, if you read the Quran, in many places in the Quran, Quran is
Ibn
encouraging
Haytham
us.
was way before that.
Oh, then he couldn't
So
have been Muslim
you will
because
not find
Islam
you will
started
not find
1300 years ago.
you will not find a person like Plato or Aristotle writing a scientific thesis or writing a methodology of how to basically conduct a scientific experiment, but Ibn Haytham did. Okay, just because he's a Muslim doesn't mean you have to discount him.
No, I'm not discounting anybody. I'm just saying that when you look further back in history, even 500 years ago, Christianity was one of the biggest blockers of science.
Not the Muslims though. We encourage science in the early history of Islam, unlike the Christianity. So do not judge Islam based on the Christian history.
When the Christian scientists, or on the side in the Christian world, when they used to be, executed and killed and tortured just because of their views, Andalusia and many other places, they used to host them and welcome them with open arms. And not just that.
Galileo is a good example.
Where they used to
he
be
got executed
at
because
the
of
time.
his.
He wasn't executed.
House arrest. He was under house arrest. Yeah. Because of his basically his postulation of his theory.
But in the same time, where Muslims used to be not just encouraged by the leaders, to do whatever they, to develop the science and as well to develop the scientific methods as well. So that was because it is the background, the Quran.
I'm not arguing whether or not Islam is anti-science or whatever. What I'm saying is that the further you go back into history, the more you relied on God for any kind of anything you couldn't understand. The more we understand things, the more we can understand that this can happen within science, and therefore we don't need God to explain this, and we don't need God to explain that.
No, but God is not for explaining only. We are saying the reason we believe
I'm not saying that.
Yeah,
all
what
I'm saying is that
science's job is to explain things. God creates things. Okay? That's the reason we asked you about the origin of things. We didn't ask you to explain what is Big Bang or what is the atom or something. That is the job of science. Let's leave science to what it is good at, okay? And let's leave God to what God is good at, which is basically creating things. One of his attributes is that he's the creator. So we are saying science, I don't think necessarily explains the origin of things. However, science explains to you the functionality and the roles of certain things like your organs and so on. As you come from a medical background, you know that. So science is very good at that. And we as Muslims have no objection. Some of the earliest medical instruments were developed by Muslims. I don't know if you've read the history of medicine, but if you look at that, those medical instruments are still used by doctors and surgeons today. Okay? So in fact, our religion encourages us to go and look around. So the earliest cosmologists, the earliest astronomers were mostly Muslims. You know why? Because as Muslims we have to face the direction of the Qibla, the direction where the Kaaba is. And in order to do that, they had to pinpoint the direction from various places around the world. And they used to have, that's the reason they developed things like algebra and other mathematical and scientific equipments like the astrolabe and so on.
in India.
What is that? Algebra? No, it wasn't. It was by
Khwarizmi.
It was by Khwarizmi, yes.
Khwarizmi is Persian Muslim.
I think Persia was the sort of the capital of the world at the time.
No, it was at that time. Baghdad was the capital city of the Muslim world. Yeah.
Of the entire developed world. Was in that region.
We're talking about during Khwarizmi time. I don't know what. So during the Khwarizmi time, who developed that group, he is originally Persian, you could say, Persian of these, but in the same time he was Muslim, as well inspired by as well of the Quran and other things. That's why he did a lot of the work of the mathematicians. By the way, mathematicians. That's why. Mathematicians.
So what we are saying is that in the early period of Islam, it was actually the Quran, the work, especially the Quran, which encouraged them and inspired them to go about all the scientific discoveries and all the scientific inventions as well. Okay, so if you look at the early Muslims, they actually were very much in line with science and scientific discoveries of that time. Yes, they don't need. They didn't just say, "Oh, we believe in God, so let's forget science," which is basically what you're trying to say.
No, I'm not saying that that's what religious people did. I'm saying that.
No, you said as we advance, we'll need less and less
I'm saying that
to explain God.
Yes, as you go further back in time, you need more and more to rely on God for understanding everything. Whereas as you come more and more into the future, science is
Or
explaining
another
more
way
and
to
more.
put it is, God has been the explanation, and the more we study, we remove God.
If you look at certain things in the Quran, 1400 years from today, you'll be surprised what you'll find in there. Way back then, this is way before the sciences and so on. Okay, so there's a lot of things that in the Quran, like the stages of embryology and so on. These are clearly mentioned in the Quran, 1400 years ago.
I've never read the Quran, so I can't argue.
Would you like a copy?
Okay, we'll give you a copy of the Quran if you wish. We have no problem.
Yes,
in English. Yeah,
Inshallah. You got one?
we'll help. We wanted to see if there is any of the brothers to get us a Quran. By the way, for example,
He wants me to learn Arabic.
no, the English one. By the way, let me give you some examples. About the cosmology. There is a beautiful verse in the Quran talks about that God. Generally, let me just give you kind of indication, kind of introduction. When God in the Quran making an oath by something that shows this something matters, you need to focus. You need to know there is something much deeper than what it appears. So that's why God made an oath, for example, by the olive tree, for example, and different things in the Quran. And sometimes the time, God made an oath by the time. And once, one of the Quran, God said about He made an oath by the positions of the stars. So God said in the Quran, I will not make an oath by the positions of the stars. And it's a great oath. So God said, I don't want to make an oath by the position of the stars. But even though it's a great oath, it's worthy to make an oath with, but you are not yet aware of that. Yeah? So here, at that time, when people used to, now you didn't see that. At that time, when people look at the sky, they will see a star. They will say, okay, that's the position of the star. When they used to use it for direction. So it didn't contradict the science of their time, because it's the position of the northern star is in this direction, this star in that direction, simple as that. Now, we have another thing. Now we know when the light travels from the stars, and it travels for millions of feet until it reaches Europe, what happened to that star now?
Could be dead.
Could be dead, could be moved, it's not there. So what you see in the sky is you see what? The position of the star when the light departed from it. Yeah? So God is saying to us, what you see here is the position of the star, but you are not yet aware of that. So he is saying...
There's a copy of the Quran. Is it in English?
Arabic English is okay? Sure.
Yeah, okay, but you don't have English.
We don't have
English one?
It's fine, I can read just the English part.
Yeah, sure.
Maybe I'll learn Arabic.
I think there is a brother, he's just outside.
he's on
not here
holiday.
today. Okay. So here, sorry about that. Oh, sorry. Yeah. So here, God is making an oath by the position, and there are many other verses in the Quran. For example, let me give you another verse. That, for example, what do you think? What do you think the deepest point any person could dive in the sea 1400 years ago?
I have absolutely no idea.
What do you think? Just suggest. 1400 years. 100. Can someone dive 100 meters? I'm talking about 1400 years ago. Only recently they are able to dive, more than 50 meters and all of these.
Now they can dive hundreds of meters.
When? Where?
Submarines.
1400 years ago.
Well, I don't know what the pressure's like, depending on the pressure.
Yeah, let's say 20 meters, 30 meters,
Okay,
whatever. So look at this. There is a verse in the Quran that says, that those who doesn't follow the guidance of God, like someone who's deep in the bottom of the ocean, above him there is a wave, above the wave there is another wave, above the sea there is a cloud. Even if he took his hand out of his pocket, he will be not able to see it. Darkness upon darkness. And look at this description, Someone deep in the bottom of the ocean. Above him there's a wave. There's another wave. There's two waves. There's two waves that God is talking about, two waves. And above the sea there is a cloud. So here recently the science discovered that when the sunlight comes, and if it's a cloudy weather, only 60% max, that goes through the clouds and which reach the surface of the sea. And if there's waves on the surface of the sea, the waves of the surface of the sea, they will break the light. And only half of that could go through. And if there is deep another wave which is now discovered, recently, we're talking about in the last 100 years, yeah? They discovered something they call the sea currents, and they travels in waves, yeah? So we have the sea, the surface waves, and we have another sea current which travels in waves underneath that,
Internal
yeah?
waves.
Which is internal wave inside the sea, inside the ocean. So that's, if there is remain of the light, then it will break it. And if there is any remains of the light deep in the bottom of the ocean, if someone will take his hand out of his pocket, he will be not able to see it. Who taught Muhammad about this?
Who lived in the desert?
Can you tell me? Just tell me. Use anything. Use any scientific method. And by the way, let me give you a hint about Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that he was a literate man. He doesn't have access to the science of his own time, let alone of the science that yet to come after.
He did not read and write, basically.
How he knows these things? And there are many in the Quran about for example, embryology, for example, about many other things. How he learned, how he taught the people about it, how he learned about, how did he know all these things, all these facts? So that's, it leaves, what's your name? What's your name? Maya. So that gives you, my name is Muhammad. That gives you, for our brother Maya, gives you something to know. There must be something that this man has brought, which gives me the answer about how the universe was created. If someone is able to say things which is proven scientifically now, which it doesn't contradict the Quran, and the Quran is not science book, by the way. Quran is not science book.
Book of science.
Yeah? It's a book of science, not science.
SIGN.
Yeah?
Not science.
So it has things for us to learn. So for you to ponder, to say, you know what, let me think, and let me carefully understand what was the meaning of the Quran.